Yes, it's going already.
We're on number 2.
All right.
Hey, they came back. Either that or you're new. You haven't met us.
So I'm Captain Scott,
Captain Jim.
and welcome to the Captain's Table. We are bow to stern, and today we're going to discuss what it's like for us to be a sailing instructor and what that means to us and why we do what we do.
So, sailing instructor, bottom line, we're going to teach people how to sail. And that encompasses a little bit of everything. I mean, as instructors, we know we don't just teach sailing, and we joke about that all the time, and we'll get into all kinds of stories about that. There's everything from personal counseling to marriage counseling to
How many hats do you
first
wear?
aid to sailing instructor.
Yep. Sometimes it's very little sailing instructor and so much more about life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because when you're teaching and you got them out on the water, some people you have to slow them down.
Right.
Because they're just like this and they want things instant. And typically you see those people, they're like this, constantly at the helm trying to fight the boat, and they end up doing this, and you just need to slow them down.
Let go of the wheel.
Yeah.
Let go of the wheel. See what it
Yeah.
does.
And some people you have to tell them, look, right, wrong, or indifferent, you got to make a decision. You got to do it now. Make a decision. And especially when it comes to tacking, which line am I going to undo? What do I do? Right, wrong, or indifferent. Make a decision. If it's right, then everything's good. If it's wrong, don't do it again.
That's right. Make the correction.
So,
Make the correction.
So what's one of your hardest things that I'm curious, comparing your notes to my notes, what's one of your hardest scenarios when you're teaching classes that you deal with?
Goodness, I think, at least for me, it's probably making sure that what is muscle memory for me and what is instinct for me gets broken down so that I can explain it on a base level.
Absolutely.
So that way I'm not skipping over something. It's kind of like a perfect example is I was teaching, it wasn't my daughter, but I was teaching somebody else how to drive. And they had their hands on the wheel like this, and we were turning the corner. And she turns like this, and it wasn't turning enough. And she couldn't figure out how to get her hands further around. So we talked about that and hand over hand, but there's so many things on a boat that once you've done it for so long, it's just instinct that you've got to back up and explain why and how.
Yep.
And go down to the core basics.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I think is so rewarding when you can back up and you can start to pass on that base level knowledge and information. So what about you?
To go along with that, I was teaching a 104 class, and this just happened a couple weeks ago. I was teaching a 104 class, 2 days on the water with these guys. They were great guys. I got done with it. The very next day I had to do a 101. So I grabbed my bag, I got my students, I walked down, and I tell them, all right, you're going to do the bow lines, you're going to do the stern lines. I reach over, I fire the motor, got everything going, and they're just both kind of standing there looking at me. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is a 101 class.
That's right.
So I had to
Which
back
ones
up.
are the bow lines?
Yep, I had to back up. We had to walk through the boat. And
what's the bow? What's the stern?
But I just instantly is like, okay, this is day 3 of my 104 class. And so even though it was different people, different boat, it was still, let's, point and click, just roll with it. But, so yeah, slowing things down, remembering the things that we take for granted because we've done it for so long. It's real hard to not forget to teach things. I don't know how many times I throughout a class go clockwise. You
Right,
always write the lines clockwise.
Right.
But surprisingly, I never run out of patience.
I look at those times, and I see them more of a challenge for me, because if I'm doing that and I'm telling them, it's like, okay, wrap it clockwise. And I get that, but obviously the student hasn't.
Right.
So I look at that, and for me, it's more a matter of, okay, I'm not communicating this in a way that they can understand.
Yes.
So it's not on them for not understanding.
That's right.
It's on me for not explaining.
That's right.
And more importantly, not explaining in a way that they can pick it up.
Yeah.
And that's where, I think any instructor, you have to be able to teach something 2, 3, 4 different ways. Yeah. And if you teach it the first way and it doesn't work, what's the definition of?
Yeah.
What's that word? I'm drawing a blank on the word, but to do the same
Insanity.
thing over and over again, expect different results.
The definition of insanity.
Yeah, insanity.
Yes.
So you can't go insane. You can't keep on
Beating your head against the
wall, because you got to do it a different way.
Yep. Yep.
And I always like to think of it as throwing spaghetti up against the wall.
Yeah.
And most of it's going to fall off, but
Yeah.
you just got to keep on figuring out a different way to throw it up there until it all sticks and people
Yeah.
start to get are able to move forward and understand. Again, not how to do it on this one, but how to do it and why.
Yeah.
Why do I do that?
So, for me, I'm a believer of, if a student fails, it wasn't the student.
Right.
It was me not being good enough at my job to reach the student.
Right.
Which, luckily, knock on
Yeah.
wood, I haven't really had that issue. But it's definitely our job to find out what your learning style is.
Right.
What you're looking to get from this course, where you think your hard parts are going to be, and if you're doing if you're teaching a married couple, getting the repeat game to stop.
Yeah.
You say something, and then the husband says something to the wife, and sometimes it's the wife saying something to the husband. It's not always the mansplainer.
Right.
I don't know how many times I've had wives go, "You heard what he said, right?" So yes, women can mansplain too.
What's the hardest spot for you? What's hardest for you when you teach?
The hardest thing for me is getting the students to understand where the wind is. And everybody understands when we're in the classroom that we go through the points of sail, and I talk about where the sail should be for every point, and they get that. And as soon as you get them on the water, they're like deer caught in headlights.
Where's it coming from?
Yep.
And it's one thing to know where it's coming from now, but it's a whole nother one to understand where it's coming from 2 minutes from now or 5 minutes from now when the boat's turned. And heaven forbid the wind dies.
Yes.
Because that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, where's it coming? What changed? What changed? It's like, no, you didn't turn. You didn't. It just, the wind just laid down some.
Yep.
And I think it's the hardest thing sometimes for them to pick up. And for me, it's all about, it's a morphing. Sailing's nothing but action reaction. And when you get one action and you're trying to explain what happened during that action, and by the time you get it halfway done, something else has changed, so what you're trying to explain isn't valid anymore, especially on the smaller boats.
Yep.
Goodness, when you head up in the wind, and next thing you know, you're still making way, so your tiller works.
Yep.
Versus the next step, and by the time you explain that,
Yep.
they're head to wind, and then they're in an irons. So now you're trying to explain that portion of it, and as
Yep.
soon as you get that done, next thing you know, they're drifting down and backing down.
Yep.
And you're trying to explain what to do then, and it's just like, wow. And of course they're going, well, tell me what to do. It's like, well, I just did, but now it's different.
Yep. So I had a 101, 103, 104 combo class, And so during the 101, the ASA program is about introduction into sailing. We teach you how to sail. We teach you the points of sail. We don't really go into detail so much about different boats and this, that, and the other, but it's just an intro into sailing, right? And then you do the 103, which is the coastal cruising, which teaches you, okay, I'm in Oriental and I want to get to New Bern,
Right.
Or I want to get to Georgia, right? So we kind of teach you what all that encompasses.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't hop in the boat like you do your car,
Right.
right? And then the 104, that starts getting into, that's a bareboat chartering, and we teach you how to go anywhere in the world and be confident to hop on the boat, look at charts, and go sailing for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Not a circumnavigation, but
Right,
just
right.
a day sail anywhere
Somewhere
in the world.
else.
So I had a guy. He he day sailed as a teenager, young adult, and now he's in his early 50s, right? And he comes out, he wants to do 101, 103, 104 back to back. And we're now in the 104 portion, right? And so I've been grilling him for the last 4 days about holding a steady course, keeping the sails on, that point of sail. And so we're sailing along. And I told him, I said, all right, you've fallen off the wind. You need to get back into the wind. He's like, no, I didn't. And I said, but you did. And he's like, no, I'm at 190. My course hasn't moved. Somebody else has picked up the earth and moved it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, yes, no, you didn't move, but the wind shifted,
did. Yep.
so the effect is still the same. You fell off the wind.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You turn it back.
Yep. Wow.
So that was one of my funnest students. He also sounded like an actor in one of my favorite movies. I actually got him to say a couple lines from the movie while I recorded him because he looked and sounded just like the actor.
All right.
And he was a good sport about it.
Yeah.
And the line was, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Oh dear.
Right? So he looked just like that guy. And he was just so much fun to be with.
Right.
How many of your students do you still stay in contact with?
I'm not good at that. So me personally, but I think it's more of because the students that I have, one, I don't teach a whole lot right now, but even then, now that being said, I still hear from them, and they'll come back through here and charter with us, things like that. So
I just last week got a call from a student 5 years ago, and he's getting his first boat.
right.
So I like telling my students, we're done with the class, but you're not done with
you.
me.
Yeah.
If you got questions, reach out to me, text me. If I'm not teaching a class, I'll call you right back.
Right.
If I am teaching a class, I'll text you the answer that I know.
Right.
And so
I get a lot of that just because I answer the business phone.
yeah.
So we'll get a lot of people that call back, and I've actually been doing some of the bookings lately.
Yeah.
And that one's a real different one because it's hey Jim, and I'm thinking. So it's interesting because we're doing bookings now, and so I have people that call, and I had somebody that called just the other day and say, oh hey Jim, and obviously they've been here a lot, and which we do get a lot of return customers, and it's great because it's yep I've had that boat before, and now when I do the checkouts and everything, it really works out well. So yep, you've had this boat before, and we go through, and so it makes things a whole lot quicker, and they really enjoy coming back.
Yeah.
So we do get a lot of repeat customers, and it's just like I treat our staff, it's family. And when we have people that come back, the longer you're with us, the more you have. We've got the group of guys coming next week.
Yep.
And I won't say the names, but oh my goodness, I think they've been coming for 10 years.
Yep.
And he had a request. He says, Jim, he says, can you put our boats, because they get in 2 boats, can you put them next to each other at the marina? I'm thinking, I don't have 7 parking spaces, but the good thing was they got both of the 42s. I said, Marvin, they're right there.
We did it for you.
Yes. I said, there, I got you back. I'll have them right next to each other. They do stay there, but
So students are great, and we all here at Bow to Stern like to have a great rapport with our students, and me and Stephanie would go to New Bern, and I'd see students, and they'd go, "Oh, hey, Captain Scott," and we'd go to Morehead City, which is, these towns are like 35, 45 minutes away, and Stephanie would give me a hard time. "Look at you thinking that you're special." And I said, "I am." I said, "Everybody knows me." And we turned around and drove straight to Raleigh, which is like 2.5 hours away. And the very first parking lot we pull into, I hop out, and there's a guy come, "Captain Scott!" And Stephanie was like, "Oh my God." So it was really funny.
World famous.
Yeah. I have my companionway goes up like this, and then it goes like that, so my head.
So your head will fit through.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you're paying good money to come here to learn how to sail.
Yeah.
And the better prepared you can be, then it just gives you a better way. And you come, we have some students that come in and say, "Well, I didn't understand anything," and that's fine. That's fine. It's one of the things that's a little bit higher up at the heaving too. That's a hard one to read about.
Yes.
But if you do it once, you go, "Oh, I know what you're talking about now."
Yep.
But at least if you've read it once, it does kind of, a light bulb goes off in the head, where if you haven't read it at all, and you may have picked up some of the subtleties. So it's don't get me wrong, if you do come here and you haven't picked up the book, then we won't hit you with too many wet noodles, but you can still make it through the class. It's
Yes,
just not
absolutely.
you won't get as much out of it as you can.
That's right.
Now, some people, like for me, I could read the book and I would just get frustrated and puzzled, where I'd be a whole lot better for me personally to come and spend the 2 days with you, never to have cracked a book, and then to go back afterwards and maybe read the book, because I just don't learn that way. So,
I mean, we just got you where you understand the alphabet.
That's right. That's right. I tell my students, "Yeah, I just finished the book last night," but well, that's nothing furthest from the truth.
Right. One of my favorite things is to tell them when they show up. I tell them, "Hi, I used to work at Home Depot. Today's my first day, but they made me watch all 3 videos, and I think I got it under control."
I stayed in a Holiday Inn last night, right?
Yeah. Actually, you had a really good story. You had told me one time about somebody had told you that they couldn't do it, that they just got done with the class, or was almost done with the class. And you said, "All right, do this."
It's interesting. This was one. It wasn't really a specific class, but I see that this happens a lot of times with my students. We'll go out and go sailing for the day.
Yeah.
And I don't like to spend a lot of time in the classroom. And in this instance, this was somebody that was with us when we were cruising, and they were cruising with us for a week. And the idea was, okay, we're going to teach you as we cruise. And at the end of the week, and I've had students that did this too. They're kind of like, "Well, did we cover everything?" But she said, "Well, I don't feel like I learned anything." I said, "It's okay. You know what? Let's just go sailing." And we took off and we went sailing. And I said, "Okay, how about let's do this? And what do we do next?" And next thing you know, they're saying, she's going through all of the pieces and all of the parts. And at the end of a couple hours, we're coming back into the dock, and she's doing everything she needs to do there. And I looked and I said, "So how are you feeling?" And she said, "Wow, I had no idea I learned so much."
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where we do a lot of immersion, and it's hands-on. That's why we don't like the classroom. In the classroom here, doing a classroom right here, talking about that cleat, how to tie that cleat, so much better than doing it in four walls. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful because some people like got ADD like myself I'm more concerned about the birds and the other boats that are going around.
Yes.
So you do have to kind of focus.
Yeah.
Focus, quit looking over there.
Yeah.
So that happens. But just to have the immersion, you're learning so much more than you think you are.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that our students can expect in our ASA 101 class?
I think some of them, I don't think they fully understand or know. They know in the back of their head, but they're going to have a safe time, and they're going to have a good time, and they're going to learn. Those are the three core fundamentals.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they're going to learn
Knots?
To get down and dirty, they're going to learn knots, they're going to learn nomenclature,
Yeah.
they're going to learn sail trim,
Yeah.
they're going to learn how to get on the boat and get off the boat safely, they're going to learn how to get away from the dock, how to raise the sails, how to sail around for a while, how to start the engine, however that needs to go,
Yep.
come back, put it all back up, and tie it back up at the end of the day.
And nomenclature, that's his fancy word. I like to say nautical terms.
Pieces and parts.
Pieces and parts.
It's all the pieces and parts. What's this?
So that's the biggest thing is what y'all can expect is when you come to bow to stern, we're going to throw you on the boat. There are some classroom things that we have to get out of the way.
And there's a test.
And there is a test. But for the most part, we're going to throw you on the boat as fast as possible. And we're going to get you to take the boat out of the slip. We're going to get you to put the boat back in the slip. And depending on how good you do, we may only do it 3 or 4 times. Or that may be that whole afternoon.
You're going to figure out what it is that you need to learn and how you need to learn it. And I think the other things outside of just this core sailing, you're going to learn how to do it, and also, or hopefully going to help you through the process so that you have a comfort level with it.
Yep.
And a lot of times people come in, especially if they've never sailed before, they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And help them through that. And it could be something simple.
Yep.
The tiller's not always the easiest thing to work with. And,
Yep.
I had early on, one
Yeah.
of my students, bless her heart, she was sweet as she could be, Southern term, bless her heart.
Yeah.
I'll say that when I tell the story, bless
Yeah.
her heart. Took 2 hours at least to figure out that when you push the tiller to starboard, the boat turns to port.
Yep.
And it just took
Opposite day.
forever.
Yep.
Well, by the end of the day, she got that right. Well, the second day, we moved up to a different boat that had a wheel. So I said, turn to starboard, and darn it, she didn't turn the wheel to port.
Yep.
Bless her heart.
Yep.
We spent the next hour turning it back around.
Yep. Yep.
But no, I think there's a lot of fears. We've had folks that hop on the boat and they're scared to take the helm
Yeah.
and spend the first 15, 20 minutes just driving around in a circle.
Yep.
And it's amazing how much that helps. And most people, wow, I didn't realize it was this easy. And not that it's easy, I think it's more, I didn't realize it wasn't that difficult.
Yep. Yep.
For the most part, it makes sense.
So, for me, there's 4 core things that I like to make sure that the students have. And the first one is that they're comfortable getting the boat in and out of the slip.
Mm-hmm. That's the most stressful thing.
The second thing is that they know basic rules of the road.
Right.
Red right return,
Yep.
pass port to port, yeah. The third thing that is a core is raising and lowering the sails safely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then breathing.
Slowing down.
That's the 4th one. Breathe, relax,
Enjoy the moment.
enjoy the moment. And as long as you can safely get the boat out of the slip, you can go out there, you don't hit nobody, you don't run aground, you raise your sails, so what? You're sailing on a close hull, but yet really you're on a beam.
Right.
And
That's upper level.
you know, and you make it back. You didn't tear up the boat. You didn't hurt nobody. You did everything perfect.
That's right.
You know, and then you just build on that. So those are the four cores that I really try and make sure that the students get through is docking, navigation, raising and lowering the sails, and just being able to breathe.
Yeah, and I think the breathing, expanding on that, is just understanding that it's okay to make mistakes,
Yes,
and you're gonna make mistakes,
yes,
and figure it out. And I know you do, I do, all of our instructors will let you make mistakes, especially, well, actually throughout the whole process.
Yep.
Because if we stop you and tell you, no, back up, nope, you're not gonna learn anything.
Yep.
Go down that road,
yep,
and once you realize it's not working, hopefully you're going, wait a second.
yep,
So we won't let you hurt the boat, and we won't let you hurt yourself.
yep.
But I don't know how many times with the beginner 101, all right, let's tack. And next thing you know, we job.
Yep.
And I'm quiet, I'm smiling, we're bearing off. The main sheet's already in, so it's okay. It's not gonna hurt anybody, it's not gonna hurt the boat.
Yep.
Everybody's sitting down. Next thing you know, that boom goes boom, and they're looking at me, they're looking at the wind. I said, we didn't tack, did we? I said, no, we didn't.
Yep.
I said, okay. I said, so explain why.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
But if I'd have stopped them partway through, then they would have, they may not have learned as much. It's kind of, I can't tell you not to play with matches because it's going to burn your fingers. Some people.
And that's one of my favorite things to do is to let the boat do an accidental jibe and not say nothing, especially if the main sheet's not in all the way. Everybody's below the boom,
Right.
But yet the wind's light enough to where that thing can swing over without tearing
hurt
something
anybody.
up.
Yep.
I will let that thing come across because
It's going to happen anyway.
the first time it goes bam, it's going to make more of an imprint than me go, hey, you're fixing a jibe.
That's right.
You're fixing a jibe. You're fixing a jibe. And along with that, it also becomes the hardest thing because I'll have a student fixing to jibe the boat accidentally,
Right.
and another student will pipe in, and it's like, there's only one instructor.
That's right.
Let it be me.
Let it happen.
So yeah, so that's the fun of that.
Well, let's hit the boats we use.
What is this?
This is a Cape Dory Typhoon. This is the sweetest little boat, known as America's Littlest Yacht. Now, barking. That's our dog. That's Tug. You'll meet Tug later on. Tug's gonna bark through this. He's found a ball he wants to play with. But this is a Cape Dory Typhoon, 18 feet long, sweetest little boat, known as America's Littlest Yacht.
Yes.
And we use this some for ASA 101. We use it for rentals, and the biggest thing that we've been using them for outside of youth programs and rentals and a couple other things is our Monday night programs.
Yes.
Which it's so cool. We have folks who come out and go sailing with us.
2 hours.
We used to go from 5 to 7 at night, but daylight savings time changing.
Yep.
We're moving that to 3 to 5 o'clock. So show up at 3 o'clock. We'll get you on a boat shortly, as fast as we can, and we go out, sail for a couple hours. You don't have to know how. We're not going to teach you.
No, it's not a teaching lesson.
It's not a teaching lesson.
But we'll put you.
Right, and we'll make sure there's somebody that knows how to do it on the boat.
Yes.
But
yeah.
we kind of group you together with at least somebody that's knowledgeable, or at least two people that are half knowledgeable to make one knowledgeable.
Yep.
And if need be, we'll spread you out and just go out for a couple hours and come back. And that's the coolest program, because we've had so many people who have started out not knowing how to sail.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 or 4 times later, they're the ones that are going out with other people that don't know how to sail, and they're the ones who know the most.
Yep.
And that's the coolest thing to see.
And this is also what I am hoping to get a couple more and us have regattas.
Yes.
This upcoming summer.
Start some racing. So
Yes.
if you know somebody that's got a Cape Dory Typhoon that wants to get rid of it at a good price, or if it needs work.
If it needs a good home, we're willing to adopt it.
Yes, we will adopt it. We will adopt it, and we may even pay a little bit to adopt it. And we're also looking for old ones too, because during the wintertime, I want to take these things and strip them down and start over.
Yes,
So if
it
you want
gives
help
us
with
something to
some
do
projects,
during the
yeah,
wintertime.
not like we need more stuff to do in the wintertime.
Right, right.
But we also have Cal 25s. Tell us about
Yes.
the Cal 25s
So our Cal 25s,
over there. You can
yeah, they're way over there, and our production.
You can look on our website.
Yeah.
It's on the Meet the Fleet on the
There we
ASA.
go. It's on the
Yeah.
Meet the Fleet.
So the Cal 25s are a great boat. They're like a little tank.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out in some really. Me and Jim like to play chicken. We'll see bad weather coming, and I'll tell Jim, I'll have a class. You know we're having bad weather if I'm scheduled for a class, but I'll look at the weather and I'll tell Jim. I said, Jim, you see the weather? And he's like, yeah. What do you think? I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? And we go back and forth, and I don't want to say, hey, I don't think we should go out, and he'll let me flounder. And next thing you know, I'm taking my students out to in some pretty gnarly stuff sometimes. And the Cal 25s are just great tanks.
Yeah, they hunker down.
Yep. And I've been in 5-foot sets and not have water come on the bow.
Yep.
I mean, not splash on the boat.
And it's great because those kinds of things, even at the beginner level,
Yep.
it's always good to push your edge a little bit.
Yep.
Because not most of the time, I know very few boats or people where the boat can't take more than the people.
Yep.
And we're always really good. Safety's always first, of course. But
Yep.
we don't ever go out into something that we know that the boat's not capable of.
That's right.
Now, we may push the student's edge of the envelope just because, sometimes they need to be pushed. They
Yep.
need to realize that they can go a little bit more. And sometimes we get stuck out there and realize it, which is part of the nature of the beast. You just got to deal with what you get, what Mother Nature gives you.
So, two things for where we're at. Most of the time, you can see the weather coming. But occasionally, it builds right up on top of you before you have a chance to get back.
Got to start somewhere.
And when I first started teaching with Jim, I didn't like the fact that I was out there with new students, and what I felt was a little bit uncomfortable for them. Not dangerous, but uncomfortable for them. And then after a couple months, I realized that was the greatest thing for these students, because they could see that if you did everything right, you put the reefs in, you battened all the hatches, you got the boat ready, how easy it was to manage through bad weather,
Right.
that they wouldn't have gone out in.
They'd never push the edge of that envelope.
That's right.
And it would catch them.
And so during their learning process, they've seen bad, and so it helps them to relax for the good.
Right.
And so I was always impressed with that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't agree at first, but
Yeah, you gotta
when in
stick
Rome.
That's right. That's right. Well, you gotta figure it out and stick your head out there. And I mean, as a captain now, you know you have the final call.
Yes.
I can say go, and if you say no,
Yep.
it's your decision,
Yep.
and I'm gonna back you up.
Yep.
And the students need to learn that too. That
Yep.
it's their call.
Yep.
Now they may say we don't want to go, and we're like, tough, you're going because you need
Yeah.
to learn this, and
That's
it's not
right.
bad. But if that's the case, we'll kind of ease into it. But it's good. I love it when we start off with 5 to 10 in the morning and 10 to 15 in the afternoon, and then it cranks up even more, and they get to see a whole scope of things, which is real common for around here.
So a quick story about me and Jim playing
Of course,
weather
you're never
chicken.
quick.
He calls me and he says, hey, I got a guy that we need to take down to Jarrett Bay and drop him off. And he says, you want to hop on our Scout, which is a 23-foot powerboat, center console. He says, you want to drive down there 30 minutes, drop him off 30 minutes, come back. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I get here to pick up the guy, And I look at the weather, and I'm like, Jim, you see this? And he's like, well, it's your call. And we're just kind of staring at each other. And I'm like, man, that's going to be bad. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. So I hopped in and I ran him down there. I dropped him off, and I ended up sitting in the center console, which is a little cubby hole, for 2 hours while it rained cats and dogs and lightning popping all around. And here I was in this little center console waiting for it to die down. So that was a time that me and Jim played weather chicken that didn't work out so well for me.
I've got lots of those other stories for
Yes.
other days. We'll do one nothing but
Yes.
weather and what we dealt with and how we dealt with it.
Yes.
How funny
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, a
going
guy
back.
told me once, he said, embrace the suck, right? When life is giving you this torrential downpour, enjoy it. It's hard to enjoy it now, but when you get older in life, those are the stories you talk about.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you look back and go, I made it through it.
Yeah.
You know? So
We talk about the different types of fun that we have with kids. And,
yeah.
type 1 fun is fun while you're having it, and fun while you're doing it, and fun to talk about afterwards. And that's the stuff everybody likes to do.
Yeah.
We push people to type 2 fun, which is may not be fun while you're doing it,
Yeah.
but when you look back after it, look back, 1, you talk about it, and 2, you're ready to do it again.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, because that's when it's pushing you past your comfort level so that you can move to another level as to what's going on. And that's what sailing and boating is all about, to be able to be more self-sufficient and go further and do more and withstand more and deal with more. And that's what we're looking for to push you. Hopefully we won't get to type 3 fun, which is not really fun. It wasn't fun doing, and you don't ever want to do it again.
No.
And that's where we don't want to go there, unless it's really, really gnarly, where you shouldn't have been out there to begin with. And then you go, I don't ever want to do that again, which is good because you shouldn't.
Right, right.
But at least you've seen it and you're prepared for it. And that even if it is type 3 fun, that's one of those that you go back and you go, wow, I made it.
Those are the
I
stories
did
you
it.
tell when you get older.
Those are the best stories.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And now that I'm approaching the older, man, I got a lot of great stories.
Yep.
That sucked at the time. So.
Well, we're going to need to wrap this up. So,
Yep.
More stories next time. But come sailing with us. Come take 101. Come sail our Cape Dory Typhoons.
Yes.
I have yet to have anybody take one of these guys out and not have a good time and not be pleasantly surprised with the boat.
I personally don't like sailing on real little boats. They're not fun for me. They're just not in my grab bag of toys. But that being said, this Cape Dory handles just like a 30-foot keel boat.
Easily.
It reacts just like a 30-foot keel boat. It, in some instances, takes waves better. Hello, Clarice.
Oh.
I didn't know your pockets were that.
I'm important.
Donald Trump called him. So,
I've got to end this. Donald's calling.
Yeah. And more junk mail. More spam.
well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. As always, subscribe, like, and
Comment.
follow.
Yep.
Follow, not comment. Follow.
Well, comments are good too.
Comments are
Yes.
good too. Yeah, tell us what
Yep.
you think.
Yeah, please tell us what you think. We will try
Tell us
to
what
make
you'd
sure
like us to talk about.
we respond to as many comments as possible. That's what Stephanie's job
That's right.
is.
That's our production manager.
So
You'll meet her next time. We'll have a behind the scenes interview or meet and greet.
yeah, we'll do it behind the scenes on our whole thing here. You can see
Whole
both
operation.
locations.
Yep.
We
Meet
have a
some of the
small
captains.
marina here, big marina over there. Underneath the house, we have classrooms and just a lot. So
Maybe even show you the town.
yeah, yeah. So
Tell us what you want to see, and we'll go from there.
absolutely. All right, guys. Bye.
Till next time.